everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations. Welcome to my video. This is going to be video number 1, and what we're going to do is go through a walkthrough, and then we're going to dive into actually putting the book together. And then I have video number 2, which is going to show you how I put the pattern paper on, how I measured it all, and then some other little hints and tips about decorations. So there's going to be a full walkthrough at the beginning of this one, and then kind of a final run through at the end of tutorial number 2. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't seen my haul video, you need to go check it out. I'm using Photoplay, Holly, and Ivy, and it's absolutely a gorgeous collection. So on the front here, I used the Santa cut apart. I backed it on green polka dot paper here, the green dot paper, and that came from the coordinated cardstock that I received in my design team package. I also used clusters of 3 flowers, and then I used this metal piece here, and then from my stash, the only thing I used from my stash was one single jump ring. You could use twine, you could use another piece of ribbon. There's many options, but I just wanted to attach those 2 little charms to the front, and it says Joyful Wishes, and I just love how that looks. This says Season of Magic here. I added a chipboard piece that says Dear Santa, and then I did glue this on 3 sides so I could make a little pocket, and in the pocket I have this tag and this tag that I used red seam binding on, and then I used the little ticket that has the reindeer names on it, and I thought that would be a fun kind of little interactive fun thing on the front cover. So that's kind of what I did on the front cover. I did use the green dot paper and the pattern paper. All of this will be explained in the video. I did use the green ribbon for closure. On the spine, I did use the black and white polka dot ribbon and the metal piece from Tim Holtz over the top of that looks like a wax seal. It's really cool. I did use up my hot glue gun for this and for the flowers, so just to be aware, I did do that. On the back, I have this cut apart piece and then the chipboard pieces here in the corner, so that's how I did the back. And then when you open this up, this is going to be a fun album because it has some graduated pages. I've done a couple albums with graduated pages before. I thought this would be fun, and it kind of like reminded me almost of like a Christmas tree, you know, kind of shaped that away. So that's kind of what I was doing in my thinking with that. I also wanted to do some more work with my reverse pull tab reverse waterfalls because I'm trying to really hone my technique, and I think they're fun and they're different. And so I decided to do that. So I have those on the front and the back covers, and they just pull out. Plenty of room for photos. The photo mats are 4x6. On the backs of them, they're a little bit smaller. They are 3.5x6 because of how you glue them, and I'm just making sure they are 3.5x6, but then these are 4x6. So lots of room for photos here, and you don't need any kind of closure or anything. That stays completely closed. The album has 5 pages. This is a 3-inch wide spine. It has 5 pages with a 1/2-inch gusset, and then I do have a 1/4-inch give space to kind of accommodate all the things. This front pocket here has a nice generous pocket, and I have cut aparts here that I have created booklets out of, and then I have a photo mat here. I use some stickers here, made the candy canes into a heart, and then put joy on there, and then used my skate sticker there, and then I have another little booklet here, so one on the front and one in the back. So this first one is pretty standard pocket. Pages 1, 3, and 5 are page pockets, and the other ones have elements added onto them. I did add one of the cut aparts here as a little pocket, and I put some little ephemera in there. And then I also did use this the last little Tim Holtz charm that I had that said 25, and I put a little piece of the ribbon through there and tied it, and then I glued that down. So that's that right there. The second page, the next size up, you open this up. So I used chipboard pieces here, stickers and die cuts, some of the pattern paper here, and then it opens up like that. And then these 2 pages will open up just like this. And just lots of room for really nice photos. The white paper here came from the coordinated cardstock that came with this design team package and goes with this collection. I did do a haul video, and I will put the link down below, so if you want to see exactly what I received, you can do that. I'm going to show you how to put this page together. It's going to be a real interesting way of doing it, but I wanted to do it this way so that the seam binding is not competing with the pattern paper, so you don't have to worry about that. The cardstock is helping to keep everything in place. I did use some chipboard pieces here and some stickers here with the mailbox and the Dear Santa, and then this will open up, and again, so this is a mirror image of the first side. It says a very happy holiday season here with a sticker, and then this opens up, and again, you have a beautiful area for lots of photos, and then you have this Christmas tree sticker here. So this closes up like that, and again, ties. I did end up using all of my red seam binding, so I don't have any of that left over. This page here has a pocket on the front, and then we have a pocket on the back, but I did add another one of the pattern paper pieces to make a smaller pocket. In this pocket, I have one of the cut-aparts, and then this cut-apart I put on a piece of the coordinating red cardstock that comes with this collection. Just made a little booklet there. I did add a chipboard piece here, and then this is page 3, so it has a pocket in the top. And I did make this fold out here, and we'll talk all about that in the next video, but that's a nice little fold out, and then it also kind of peeks out the top, which I really like. On the back here, another chipboard piece. Again, I did the pattern paper pocket, and then these first 3 are from the ephemera collection that I received, and then this is a little cut apart from the paper collection that I thought was kind of fun to add into that pocket. And then here in this pocket, again, another one of the cut aparts on the red artisan, or not artisan, the red coordinating cardstock that came with the paper collection, and then the cut apart here, and then this was a piece of the cut aparts, a skinny piece that I just created a tag out of, and then used the green ribbon to tie through. This page here is a fun page. I've done this before and I haven't used it in a while, so I thought it was time to use it. So page 4 has gatefold pages, but they're closed in different ways. So this one is a tag closure, and on the front I did use a chipboard piece. This is a piece of the pattern paper that I cut out. It says "This Home Believes," and I just made it into a banner piece. And then here on the front of this is a sticker that I just cut in half to decorate that top. And it closes with this tag, and it just pops out, and it's blank on the back. You could actually add pictures here if you want. I just punched a hole and then tied the ribbon through that, and then it opens up the gatefold here. And I'm going to show you how to cut the pattern papers and the mats here for this. I did use these papers on the sides here. They are open so that you could tuck pictures underneath there if you want. I put stickers here and here, and then this is an ephemera piece that came with the collection plus a couple of the stickers, and then here is another ephemera piece. The heart is also an ephemera piece, and then a sticker there, and then it just closes like that, and then the tag goes inside. Okay. Then you open this up, or turn the page, I should say. This is one of the 4x6 cut aparts, and then it's backed on the green dot paper, and we're going to create diagonal pockets, and that's how this closes. Then I did add a chipboard snowflake with another snowflake in the middle, and then it opens up. And then here I use the ephemera pieces and then a chipboard piece here, and then you can tuck your picture underneath that. Again, these are done so that you could tuck your pictures under there if you'd like. And then this piece here is from the sticker collection, so I'll show you how to do all of that. Then this just closes like so. This page here is a belly band page. This is the 5th and final page, so I did a vertical on one side, horizontal on the other side, and then on the inside we have booklets. So cut apart on the red cardstock that comes with the collection. I did use the sticker Santa hat because I thought that was kind of appropriate. And then we have this booklet here. I used stickers here, tied a little bit of ribbon through that sticker, and then we have photo mats and then ephemera pieces in the corner here. And then here I have an ephemera piece just glued at the top, and then this is a piece of the cut aparts that I just put across the bottom, and then this is a cut apart that says Holly Jolly. I had to use that. Backed on a piece of the coordinating cardstock, the red, and that's the back of this booklet. So I thought that was really pretty. And that goes like this. This 5th page is also a top pocket, and we have this large photo mat. This is, again, the red cardstock that came with the coordinating cardstock. And then I used the plaid pattern paper on the front, and then this is one of the ephemera bits that I did at the top, and it sticks out of the top pocket and does create kind of a little pull tab, as well as sticks out the top and looks really, really pretty. Okay, then we turn the page. This is a horizontal belly band. We have the chipboard pieces here that will hold this so it won't fall through the pocket. And then I used the other metal banner piece that says "We wish you a Merry Christmas." And I'll talk about how I did that in the next video in tutorial number 2, part 2. And then you open it up, and again, you have nice photo mats for this. This is one of the die cut pieces, and then this is a die cut piece here too. And on the back, another die cut piece, and it says "And to all good night." And I thought that was kind of like the last thing that I would put on here. And then here is the last pull tab reverse waterfall. So again, same kind of thing. I didn't put pattern papers on those pages because I want to make sure there's enough room for photos, because there are no gussets on these pages. So I want this to kind of lay as flat as possible. So left room for the photos. And then also what I wanted to also tell you is that you can use this. Let me grab a die cut or a photo mat. This is done so that you could tuck a picture underneath here as well. So I did do that on the front and the back. So, and then I don't know if I mentioned this, but they're opposite as far as the scalloped edge paper is on the right on the front, but it's on the left on the back. So just a little bit opposite here. So that is my album. I also will show you how I did the binding for this with this kind of stair step thing. And then I did add this at the top, which covers a little piece of the binding, and I'll explain that in the second tutorial. So that is my full walkthrough for this album. And again, we'll do another walkthrough, and I'll go through some more things during the second video. So the walkthroughs are going to be a little bit different because there's some things that I talk about. But that is my album, so I really hope you like it. So without further ado, let's get started with the tutorial. I hope you enjoy it, have fun, and I'll see you in just a minute. Hey everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations. I have a tutorial for you today. We're going to do this in 2 parts. We're going to do part 1 today, which is actually talking about making the pages and getting those elements taken care of. And then part 2 will be the pattern paper and getting all that done. So I thought that this video was going to be like super long if I did it all together at the same time. So that's why we're going to do it that way. So what I'm going to show you today is we're going to talk about putting the album cover together with the lay flat method. And then I'm going to show you about how I'm cutting my papers to cover the front and the back. This album is going to be a really nice one. It's 8x8 with a 3-inch binding, and then, or 3-inch spine. Has a closure, and then it has cascading pages that are full of elements. So we're also going to be doing a pull tab reverse waterfall on the front inside cover, and then we're going to have one on the back inside cover, and then you're going to have these cascading pages, and some of them are pockets and some of them have lots of interaction to them. We're going to do a gatefold with 2 different closures on the front and the back. We've got some great belly band features, and then 3 of these pages are actually pocket pages as well. So we're going to go over the construction of all the pages, how to add them into the album, how to take care of making this reverse waterfall. And then when we come back in our second video, we're going to put all the rest of the pattern paper elements on it, and I'll show you the final decorations. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for watching. All right, everybody, let's start with the cover. Now, I didn't do the cover on camera, but this is the lay flat method for doing album covers that Tammy Merrill came up with that we all use. I do have a link down below in my description box for this particular method. So if you're unfamiliar with it, you can go ahead and look that video up. But basically what it is a way to cover the back, the front, and then do the spine separate so that you have a very nice cover that once you get all of the pieces in, it will lay perfectly flat. You're going to love this method if you're not familiar with it. So please go check out my other video and it'll show you exactly how to do it. And the only differences are in the size of your albums, what you want to make, but the process is exactly the same. So I went ahead and did this part already. We'll do everything else together. The cover, I used the heavyweight chipboard that I got in my design team package. And for the chipboard, I cut 2 pieces that were 8 by 8. So that'll be the front and back covers, and then a piece that is 3 by 8. So your album size total will be 8 by 8, 3-inch spine. And then we're going to put 5 pages in it with some other elements on the inside, front, and back cover. And then so the cardstock that you need to cover your heavyweight chipboard, you'll need 2 pieces that are 10 by 10. That's for the front and the back cover. You need a piece that's 6 by 10, and that will wrap the spine on the outside. And then you need 1 piece that is 6 by 7 and 7/8, and that piece is for the covering the inside spine. Okay, everything else is done. So I did all that. And then I also decided I did want to use the green check ribbon for my closure. So I cut 2 pieces that were about 14 inches long and went ahead. No, wait a minute. Let me double check that because it seems like I did it a little bit longer since this is actually bigger. Yeah, I did it about 15 inches, so a little bit longer. Because this is going to be a bigger album with 5 pages in it. So I did center it on the side, so front and back, and attached it with the score tape. So that part is all ready to go as well. Okay, so that's what we did for the cover. And then I want to show you, I'll put a picture in right now of what my idea was for decorating the cover. I'm not going to do all of the decorations yet because I want to be able to work on my album and I don't want to put any dimensional things on here, but we can put our paper on here. So I have gotten that ready to go. So for the front and the back cover, I used the same papers, and I used the green dot paper that came in my haul collection, or, you know, my design team collection. This paper is the coordinating cardstock that came with it, and it's amazing. That has this green with the polka dots. It's embossed, and it's gorgeous. And so I wanted to use that as a mat, and, you know, it's Christmas, so green and red, right? So I did 2 pieces that are 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. Now I want a bigger area showing of the red. When I'm matting like this, instead of like on the inside of the album, it'll be a little bit different. I want to have more of the paper showing. So right now for the red, I'm going to have a 1/8 inch border. So that's why I cut my green paper to 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. Then the pattern paper for the cover, I cut at 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. And that's actually a 1/2 inch smaller than the green because I wanted a 1/4 of an inch showing around here. Okay, so again, the green dot is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. You need 2 of those, and then the pattern paper is 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. And then so I did 2 of those, one for the front, one for the back, and then I did a spine piece. And what I did was I used the reverse of this paper for the spine. And that, the green piece, is 2 3/4 by 7 3/4. And then the pattern paper on the inside is 2 1/4 by 7 1/4. So that gives a nice 1/4 inch border of the green showing. And then we have an 1/8 of an inch border of the red showing. So that's going to be the front, the spine, and then the back. And then the inside, I'm doing a little bit different. I mean, I'm doing it like I normally do it, I should say. I picked the papers, and I'm going to use this beautiful red snowflake, and that's going to go just across the book. And we are going to need to cover the spine before we do anything with our pages. So these 2 pieces that go on the inside front and back covers are 7 7/8 by 7 7/8. And I didn't write that down, and I apologize for that. But these again, for the inside front and the inside back covers, 7 7/8 by 7 7/8. And then the inside piece for the spine, I'm going to double check, is 2 7/8 by 7 7/8. And that'll go right in the middle of our inside spine. Okay, so what I'm going to do is glue these down. I'm going to glue these on the outside, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like, and then we'll talk embellishments on the front, and we'll start working on our pages. All right, so I have the outside cover done. So that's what it looks like on the outside. And then the inside will look like this. All right, so then what I did was I am going to put this on later, but I wanted to show you this, and my sticky note is really sticky. So what I did was I got a cut apart that I liked, and I really loved the Santa and the Seasons of Magic. This is one of the Tim Holtz metal pieces that I received in my pack. So what I did was I took the cut apart, which is 3 by 4, and then I cut a piece of the green dot that was 3.5 by 4.5, and I matted that cut apart with the green dot. And then I took a piece of the black and with the white polka dot ribbon, and I thread it through this particular piece of metal and then centered it down there. And what I used was score tape underneath this. Okay, so the ribbon just loops through, and then I cut about 1 inch on each side, and then I wrapped it around, and I'm securing it with score tape for the time being. Okay, then what I wanted to do was, here was my thought, and I'm not going to do it quite yet. I'm going to wait till the end, so that way this stays nice and flat for working on the album. I'm going to put him in the middle. I'm going to add the flowers, and then I'm going to glue it on 2 sides. And I'm using these tags that came in the ephemera pack that I received with some of the red seam binding, and I'm going to tuck those behind the picture. So there's going to be a little bit of an element that's interactive on the front cover, and then that'll be pretty with the ribbons kind of tucked underneath. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm also going to, and you saw it in the picture, I'll put it in again real quick. Put a piece of the black and white polka dotted ribbon here. I'm going to tie a bow, and then I'm going to use the metal piece that looks like the wax seal. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied today for some reason. I'm going to, yeah, here. Well, let me just show you here. So I picked out my flowers. I'm going to use some flowers around, and you know, in 2 of the corners, probably like this. And then I'll have the tags tucked behind there. And then on the spine, I tied this ribbon, and then I'm going to use my hot glue gun, and I'm going to glue that down onto the spine. So that's going to be my spine decoration. Okay. So that's what I'm thinking. But again, I'm not going to do that yet because I really want to have this lay flat for me while I'm working on it. So let me put this off to the side, and then let's start working on our pages. Now, I know you have seen the walkthrough, so you're gonna notice that this book is going to be different in that the pages are going to be graduated. I like this kind of album. I think it's kind of fun, and I thought we would go ahead and use that. So I'm making the pages out of the red artisan cardstock, and we're going to just get started. We're going to make these, and then we'll put them in the album together, okay? So page 1 is just one piece that's 8 3/4 by 7.5. So with your 8 3/4 at the top, we're going to go ahead and we're going to score at 1/2, at 3/4, and then at 8 1/4. Now, if you're not familiar with the way that I like to bind my books, I like to do a 1/2 inch piece that binds to the spine, and then I like to do 1/4 inch of a give space. So that's why we're doing this on all the pages. This is basically an L hinge page, and how it attaches to the book is we just use this piece. So there's no separate hinge system that we're going to need to make. Okay, so again, with the 8 3/4 at the top, we scored at 1/2, 3/4, and 8 1/4. And then we're just going to turn this, and with the 7 1/2 at the top, we're going to score at 3 3/4. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and grab our scissors. We're going to do a little bit of cutting here. So what we're going to do is we're going to, on the side with just the 1/2 inch side, or the 1/2 inch score, I should say, we're just going to miter the bottom one, and then we're going to cut straight up that score line, like so. Okay. Then on this side, what we're going to do is we're going to use this to create a pocket. So we're going to miter through both of those. So you're basically going to go through the 1/2 inch and the 1/4 inch. We're going to miter that. But here's where you want to stop. Okay, so we mitered the bottom one. We want to keep this straight. This is what's going to bind it to the spine. So I'm just going to cut straight up that score through both the 1/2 inch and the 1/4 inch scores. So you're going to have a piece that's going to look like that. Okay, so mitered at the bottom, here and here, cut this piece out, leave this score line, cut that straight. Don't miter that. That's what's going to adhere to the book. All right. So then we'll go ahead and fold and burnish. And then for the piece that's mitered, so this bottom piece, you don't need to burnish that 1/4 inch mark. We're just going to ignore it and just use it as a piece to glue to make the pocket. But this one we will burnish that one, the top one, the straight one, because that's going to, I already have glue all over myself. That's going to adhere to the book. So we'll burnish that side. So what's going to happen if we turn it to the front here where we scored, we're going to fold those two bottom ones in, and then they will fold up, and then that's going to create our first page, and it's going to be just a simple pocket page. This will bind to the book, this 1/2 inch. There's my 1/4 inch give space. And to explain the give space, what it does is when we add elements and decorate and things, it just helps the pages turn a little bit better. And so I like to do that, and probably 99% of the time that's how I add pages to my albums. So I really like this method. So then just grab your art glitter glue, and we're going to just go ahead and glue those tabs. Okay. We're going to start simple. Some of the pages are going to get a little more complicated. All right, but that is page number 1. Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and just put my sticky note back on there, and we're going to put that off to the side. Let's grab page number 2. Now, page number 2 does have a lot of moving parts here. So but it'll be fun, and it'll have a lot of interaction, a lot of picture space. So this is going to be nice, a nice page. So we're going to start with our base page here, and that is going to be, I'll put that over there, one piece that's 8 1/4 by 9 1/4. You will need 3 pieces here that are 7 1/2 by 5, and then you will need 4 pieces that are 4 1/2 by 4 1/2. You're also going to need seam binding, and I cut 4 pieces of the red seam binding, and I did it at about 14 inches a piece. So I have 4 of those ready to go. I did not do the squishy, wet them down and get them squishy. I left these straight, if you will. So but we do need to work with those here in a minute. So anyway, all that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the scoring. So putting this off to the side for a second, we're going to put our 8 1/4 by 9 1/4 in the scoreboard with the 8 1/4 at the top, and we're going to score at 1/2 and 3/4. Okay, and then we'll turn it to the side, and with the pieces we just scored at the bottom, okay, so down here, because the orientation is important for this, because we're not scoring this in half. We're actually going to score it only at almost half, but it's going to be at 4 1/2, okay? So that's important to note, that you want the first scores, the 1/2 and the 3/4 here. When you turn it counterclockwise or to the left, and then score at 4 1/2, all right? So What we're going to do with this one is this top flap is shorter than this bottom. This is going to become a flap. So this piece here will be the binding. This piece we're going to cut out. So we're going to just cut straight through the 2 score lines, and then we're just going to cut this out at the top edge. And that's all we're going to need to do to prep this page. All right, just like that. So that's the way it should look. All right, put that off to the side for just a second. All of the rest of the pieces, so every 7.5 by 5 piece you're going to put in your scoreboard. You're going to, with the 5 at the top, I should say, and score at 1/2. So you're going to do that with all 3 of the 7.5 by 5 papers. And then on the 4.5 by 4.5, we're going to stick that in the scoreboard, and on just one side, we're going to score at 1/2. Okay? So then for the pieces, let's go back to the page now that we've got our scoring done. We're going to fold and burnish our binding pieces. I keep burying my bone folder. Okay. Fold and burnish those 2. Okay, that's our binding and our give space. And then we're going to fold this top to the back. Okay, so this flap, when we turn our page, if you think of this as the front of the page, when you turn it, you're now going to have a flap here. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to add a bunch of seam binding before we do anything else, because that's going to make our life a lot easier. So I'm going to take my score tape, and I'm going to turn this to the side, and this is going to seem a little bit strange, but bear with me because this is going to work out really great. I did a little prototype and it worked out really good. So what I'm doing is, let's fold this back just so that I'm going to fold that back. So this is just the front page without the binding pieces. Okay, here's the top fold. Okay, so here's how the page would look, and here's the back part. Okay, so right here at the top fold, what we're going to do is use our ruler, and we're going to find the center, and I'm going to put a little score tape here. Okay, and I'm going to grab a piece of my seam binding, and I'm going to just center that right there. Okay, now we're going to do it again, and I know this is going to seem a little bit weird, but we need one for the front and we need one for the back, and we need to have this all down before we do anything else. So I'm putting another piece of score tape down, and then I'm just going to lay this right on top of that. All right. And then because I'm me and I am paranoid, I like to put a little bit of extra. So we have our seam binding, and this is at the top. We've got one piece that will wrap to the front and one piece that will wrap to the back. Okay. All right. So one to the front, one to the back. On the bottom section here, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to line this up, and when you center it, it will be at 3 3/4 for the size of the page. And I'm going to put a little score tape, take that off. That will be in the middle there. And then I'm just going to lay my little piece of seam binding down. And your seam binding is about 1/2 inch wide. Okay, a little bit more tape. And then you have, now we have the 3 pieces. You have one piece that'll wrap to the front, and then this will wrap to the front, and then that will be the closure on the front. And then when we turn our page over, we'll have this piece on the top that will wrap to the back, and then you have your flap. Okay, so we're going to flip that flap up, and we're going to put another piece of seam binding, but we're going to put it on the inside bottom this time. So you got the 2 pieces at the top, coming out the top. And we got this piece on the other side on the bottom. We don't really need to measure because we can just use that as a guide. Okay, put our score tape there. Take that off. We're going to put another piece of seam binding down here. Okay. And then I'm going to just do a little added security. Okay, so now we've got basically 2 coming off the top, 2 coming off the bottom. All right, so let's put this off to the side for just a second. Fold and burnish all of our pieces. All right, So we have the 1, here's number 2, 3 big pieces and 4 little pieces. Now we only need 3 big pieces because with the page that we created, the base page, we created one of the flaps. So that's why we only need 3 of those 7.5 by 5 pages. But we need 4 of these smaller pages. Okay, so let's get our page here. So we're going to work on our front. So here's our binding piece. Our flap is folded back to the back. We have our seam binding on. I'm going to take these off, but I think I put them up a little high, so I might have to put these little score tape pieces back down just to cover them up. We're going to take one of our big pages and we're going to miter here. We're going to glue this down. Right to the bottom of the page. Just line it up to the bottom. Don't get it into the 1/4 inch score. You want it right on the other side of that score, and you want it right over top of that seam binding, okay? Like so. Now, what you can do is we'll take just, there's a little bit of my score tape showing and it's kind of sticky, so I don't want things sticking to it. So I'm just going to put a little piece over top of that just to make sure that nothing sticks, okay? But that is going to be a bottom flap. We need to put one at the top here, so I'm going to turn this off to the side. I'm going to grab another big flap, okay? I'm going to miter that 1/2 inch tab, okay, like so. Art glitter glue. Do the same thing. We're going to just glue this to the top. So this will be a top flap. All right. Okay. Open that up, burnish that down. A little bit of my score tape is showing, so I'm going to just go ahead and just cover that up. We're going to cover that with pattern paper, okay? So here's what we have so far. So here's the top with the 2 seam bindings coming out the top. Now you can see this, the seam binding is secured now with that flap that we just added. And so one of them will go to the other side and one of them will go to this side to tie our pages together, okay? So we have our top flap, have the middle section, which is that base page, and then we have the section that we just put at the bottom, okay? And then this is where we're going to put our smaller pages on the inside, okay? So we need 2 of these, and we're going to miter that 1/2 inch tab. Okay, we'll grab our glue and we'll glue 1 to each side, flush with the page edge, okay? And what we're going to do is have about 1/8 of an inch space, top and bottom, and that will ensure that these pages fold flat, okay? So, okay, make sure I don't have glue where I don't want it. And then this page is going to go on the opposite side, all right? So I'm going to turn this to the side so I can see it better. And I'm going to line up this page to the edge, but I'm also going to line it up with the page I just put on. So since I eyeballed it and I didn't really measure, I'm using this second page here, this, or the first page that I put on, to kind of line up the bottom edges of those pages. Okay. So there you go. So that's what you're going to have. So you'll have a flap, bottom, top, and then you'll have this piece and this piece that will tie in a pretty bow and keep everything shut. And the flap being glued over top of the seam binding will help hold everything together, okay? So we're going to turn our page over, And now we have that flap. Now I'm going to untie that because the knot's in my way and it won't let me lay it flat. So we have the back side here. Now here's our binding. So we basically turned our page. Here's our top flap that was created when we made the page. So we need to add just the one big flap to the bottom and then the 2 flaps to the side, and then we're done. So again, I will add this to the bottom and these to the sides, just like I did on the other side. And then you'll have basically the same thing on this side. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I won't make you watch this part. But again, miter all of your 1/2 inch tabs and then just add them like I just showed you. Okay, I'll do that. I'll be right back. I just finished adding the pocket, or the flap here. So there you got a flap, and then it goes up and then down, and that's your page. So again, we're going to use 2 of these to tie. Okay. And then we'll turn that over. We'll tie this one. I can trim this up in a little bit, but for right now, this will be good. And that will be page 2. All right. So what I also want to show you here real quick. So you got the binding here. Here's your page. You'll have all the flips and flaps, and then you'll turn it and you'll have all the flips and flaps. So this is page 2. When we get this into our book, if we get page 1, you can see page 1 will be shorter than this page by 1 inch, I think it is. Yeah, by 1 inch. Okay. So there's that. Let's look at page 3. Page 3 is a little simpler than that page. So we have a base page that's 8 3/4 by 11 1/2, and then we have 2 pieces that are 8 1/2 by 3 1/4. So let's take our base page and put that in our scoreboard with the 8 3/4 at the top. We're going to score at 1/2, at 3/4, and at 8 1/4. This is also going to be a pocket page. When we score on this side, we're going to make a pocket. And then I'm going to turn this to the 11 1/2, and we're going to score this right in half at 5 3/4. Okay, so this one, just like we did the front page, we are going to miter the bottom on the right side. You have to forgive me. I've been getting over a cold, and I feel almost like I'm trying to get it again. I just am really over this bug, and I'm feeling it in my throat. Okay, so the side with the binding here, again, we're going to miter through the 1/2 inch and the 1/4 inch. Okay, just miter through those 2. And then we're going to cut straight up the middle score line because the top part here is what's going to bind to the book. So we don't want to miter that top part. All right, so I'm just going to cut that out so it's straight there. Got ink on my hands too. And then there's miter, 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 miter. Okay, so just like we did with the first page. Now, while we have our scoreboard out, we're going to take both of these pieces. They are going to be pockets, just real simple pockets. And we're going to put it with the 8 1/2 at the top. We're going to score it half at 8. And then we're going to turn it on the 3 1/4 inch side and score at 1/2. Okay, so we'll have 2 of those. These will get mitered just like our regular pockets. Okay, cut sharply through the corners because then that way it takes some bulk off the corners when we go to fold it up. And we're going to add a pocket, just one to each side of this particular piece. Okay, so again, just miter your 1/2 inch tabs, and I'm going to cut like 45-degree angle through that corner there, so it's nice and sharply mitered. Okay, then we'll grab our page. We're going to fold and burnish. So the bottom tabs, again, you don't have to burnish all 3 of the scores. Just burnish that 3/4 inch score on that side. We're just going to use that to create the pocket. All right, this will fold up to create that pocket. Okay, and then you have your binding piece. So you will have to burnish those two score lines. So your 1/4 inch give space, and then your 1/2 inch piece that will bind it to the book. Okay, so our tabs are folded in, so we'll just go ahead and put glue on those tabs, just like page 1, except it's wider, right? Or taller, I should say. Okay, I'm going to fold that in. Okay. All right, so there's our page. This is the base, page 3, and you will have a pocket here, a really nice full width pocket. All right, so then these pieces here, we'll go ahead and fold and burnish these, and then I am going to use my envelope punch board just to make that little divot because it's pretty. I like it. So when you do that, what we're going to do is center that and get my ruler the right way, the right time, or the first time would be lovely. The center of this is 3 3/4. Okay, so you're going to use your envelope punch board, line this up at 3 3/4, punch, and then that'll give you that little notch there. And then I'll show you how to do that with the pattern paper. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's fold and burnish first, just to keep it consistent, right? So we'll fold and burnish here, and then, okay, and then we'll take that top, we'll line it up at 3 3/4 here, and give us that little punch. All right, so then all we're going to do with this one is we're going to glue one on each side. Now, I'm going to glue the bottom first, and then we'll put tape on here, because if you want to conserve paper and not put paper all the way into the pocket, then what we're going to do is put tape over this bottom edge so that anything that you put in these pockets will not get caught up. So line that up, the bottom of your page, okay? Just glue the bottom, okay? Open that up, and then grab your clear tape, and we're just going to put a little bit over top of that edge. If you're not familiar with this, this is a great way to make sure that your tags don't get caught, because they go ahead and they slide right over there, okay? So then you can glue your sides up. Now, if you're going to just put paper all the way in the pocket and cover up all of these tabs with your pattern paper, then you don't have to do that. But if you want to conserve a little bit of paper and only put in enough to go inside the pocket, which would be about maybe 4 inches or so to go past that little divot, then you know, if you're going to put paper all the way in, then you don't have to do that little tape trick. But if you're going to, you know, conserve paper, like I said, then you will want to do that. Okay, so there's the front of the page. We have our pocket right here, and then we're just going to do that with the second page, okay, or with the back side of this. So we're just going to fold again the bottom, do the tape, and then do the sides. All right, so I'll do that, and then I'll be back, and then this page will be done. Page 3 is done. So we have our front pocket here. We have our middle pocket, if I can show you right there. And then when we flip the page over, we have yet another pocket here. All right, so getting my stack here, we'll go ahead and put that in my stack. You can see the different heights, which is kind of cool. And then we're going to grab page 4. Page 4 has a few parts, so let's look at getting that out of the way first. Let's look at the base part of the page. Okay, so we're going to start with just one piece that is 8 1/4 by 6 3/4. That's the base page. You're going to need 4 pieces that are 4 1/4 by 6 3/4, 2 pieces that are 2 by 4 and 1/4, 1 piece that is 4 by 4. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use some green dot paper because these are going to help be closures for these pages. So I cut the green dot paper out of the leftovers I had. I had 2 sheets of that total. One at 6 1/4 by 4 1/4, and then one at 5 3/4 by 3 1/8. Okay, 5 3/4 by 3 1/8. So one each of those, and then all of these pieces. Okay, so to start off, we'll put the 8 1/4 by 6 3/4 in our page, in our page. We're going to put it in our scoreboard, and with the 8 1/4 at the top, we're going to score at half and at 3/4. Okay, pretty easy peasy. We're going to build onto this. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and fold and burnish that, and that base page is done. Then the next thing we're going to grab are the 4 pieces that are 4 1/4 by 6 3/4. These are all scored the same. So 4 1/4 at the top, and it's 6 3/4 on the side here. We're going to score at half an inch. Okay, all of these will get, you know, folded, burnished, and we're going to miter the 1/2 inch tabs. Okay. So we'll do 4 of those like that. Okay. Then we're going to get the 2 pieces. I'm going to put that over here. We're going to get the 2 pieces that are 2 by 4 1/4. This is going to be a closure piece, and we're going to put it with the 4 1/4 at the top, and we're going to score at 1/2 and at 3 3/4. Both of these pieces you will want to miter the 1/2 inch scores. Okay. And you know, honestly, I don't, sometimes I miter and then I burnish, and sometimes I burnish and then I miter. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't like have a preference really either way. It's just kind of, sometimes I get ahead of myself and I do it one way, and then other times I do it the other way. So if you see me doing that, that's just because it doesn't really matter. You can do it the other way. You can burnish and then you can miter. So I think it's personal preference what you do. I don't really, I guess, have a preference. I do it either way. So if you see me doing that, that's what I'm doing. I'm just, I don't know, being me. There, how's that? Okay, so those 2 pieces are prepped. Then you have your 4 by 4 piece. We're going to put that in our scoreboard at, well, with the 4 at the top, we're going to score at half and at 3 1/2, and then go ahead and turn it once, and then score at half and 3 1/2. So essentially what you're doing is doing a 1/2 inch score on all 4 sides. The green dot paper does not get scored. Okay, so let's start. The one thing I do need to do is I need to get some pattern paper, because on the front part, we're going to have to actually, once we put these flaps on, we'll have to cover them with pattern paper before we use these pieces. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is grab the pieces that are 4 1/4 by 6 3/4, and I'm going to take one and I'm going to glue that down to the front page. These are essentially going to be the same type of page, but they're going to close differently for a little bit of added fun. So I'm putting that right to the edge of the score on that side where that 1/4 inch is. I'm trying to line up my page. So not on the 1/2 inch, not on the 1/4 inch, right at the edge, right at that score line. Okay. And I'm gluing that down. Okay. And then I'm going to take the other one that I did not fold and burnish yet, because I only did one. We'll go ahead and do that. And we're going to glue that to the other side. Now, before we glue it down, what I want to do is I want to make sure it fits. So I really want a dry fit. I want to make sure that it bumps up together, but it doesn't hang over the side, because I'm going to glue that right to the edge of the page. I don't want it overlapping. I don't want the pages overlapping. I want them right next to each other, and I want to be able to glue it to the edge. Okay, and it's not too short, not too long. It looks like it's going to fit pretty perfect. Okay, so do dry fit. If you need to trim, now is the time to do it before you glue it down. Okay, Okay, so again, you don't want your pages overlapping. You want it bumped right up next to each other. And then just lay that down and glue it to the other side of your page. Okay, so you have a gatefold. All right. Now, this is where I need to go get my pattern paper, so let me do that. So, this is, I think, the only page that we have to put some pattern paper on before you put the rest of the elements on the page. So I did need to cut a piece of pattern paper, and this is the same piece of pattern paper that I cut. So let me tell you, you want it in continuity so that the design, if there's a design, it matches. Okay, so what I mean by that is I want the red showing, but I'm going to show you the other side because it'll make more sense. It'll be easier to see. In continuity, when I say that, it means that when I put them on the page, I want the design to be able to be read. I don't want it to be off. Does that make sense? So what I did was I cut a piece of pattern paper that was 7 1/4 by 6 5/8. Okay, so I cut this piece at 7 1/4 by 6 5/8, and then I cut it in half. Okay, and when I cut it in half, 3 5/8. So they ended up being two pieces, 3 5/8 by 6 5/8. Okay. Now I don't want this pattern side. I'm just showing you that because it's easier to see, you know, how the design should go. Okay. So once you cut that paper, you want to turn it over and you want to make sure this design is really hard to see, but I want it to be like in continuity. I want it to kind of flow across the page. All right. These are cut 1/8 of an inch smaller than the piece it's covering, and that's how I usually do my pattern paper inside my albums. So you'll have a nice little like 1/16 of an inch border of your red artisan cardstock around the pages. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue these down. Like so. Okay. So one on each side, making sure they're on the proper side. And even with the quarter of an inch, even with the 1/16 of an inch in between them, it will still make a difference with the design if the design is pretty obvious, okay? So that's what I wanted to show you how I did that. But because of this particular closure on this front page, we do have to put this down first. There we go. All right. So I'm going to lay that down. I've done this closure before. I like this closure. It's really nice. I haven't done it in a while, so I was like, you know what? I need to pull one of my old tricks out of the hat or out of the box or the whatever you want to call it and go ahead and use it. So that's where these little guys are coming into play, okay? These are going to be kind of a tube for the closure, okay? We will put pattern paper over here and then we're going to create a tag with this and slide that through, and that's what's going to close everything. So first thing I need to do though is I'm going to grab my tape, my Scotch tape, my clear tape, wherever I laid it, right beside me where I laid it. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take a little piece of tape, and on the inside of those folds I want to put a little piece of tape. What this is going to do is when we fold this down and glue it down, that's going to do that tape trick like at the bottom of our pockets, but we're going to actually have it, actually I want a bigger piece of tape. No, maybe I don't. Never mind. It's going to actually kind of help us with our tag sliding in and out so that our tag slides in a lot simpler and easier, okay? So a little piece of tape. And if you don't get it quite long enough, you can add another little piece here. Okay, so basically what we're wanting to do is have it so the sticky side of the tape is up. When we put glue on there and we glue that down, then that will help our tags kind of slide over this a little bit easier, okay? Not get caught up. That's what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to center my ruler at the edge of this page, and when I do that, we've got like 3 5/8 of an inch from the center line. this should be, if I measured right, 3 1/4 inches. So it should line up at like 1 and, I can't see it. I'm sorry guys, I may have to stop because something's going on with my voice and my throat. It will line up at 1 5/8 inch from either side. Okay, so we've got our tape. We're going to get our glue, put the glue on the tabs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up and I'm going to glue it right to the edge of that piece, okay? So I want these to be right at the edge of my page. So now that I've got it kind of lined up, I want it right to the edge, okay? Now that I've done that, then the other one, I'll just match it up, okay? So we should have a little pocket here that our tag will go through, and then that will keep this page closed, okay? So again, what we're going to do is take our tape, put that over the tab on the inside, okay? We're going to put that down so the sticky side will end up being where we want it, okay? We're going to fold it down like so. Get our glue. All right. Then we're going to grab this page and we're just going to line it up to the other page, okay? So I want it to butt up against it. Line that down. I don't want it overlapping. Okay, I want it right to that edge. Okay, and I think I did pretty darn well, a little bit over there. Okay, like that. So then theoretically, what's going to happen is we're going to make our little tab or tag, and then that will slide through those two pieces, and then that will hold it shut. Okay? So that is that page. Then we're going to turn it over. So now we have our binding over here. And we're going to add these two pages again, just like we did before. So I'll do that real quick and then I'll be right back and show you how the closure for the other side is going to work. All right, so I put the pages on. Then we're going to take this piece here, and before we do anything, we're going to grab our trimmer and cut this into a triangle. So we've taken the 4x4 piece and we've scored it at 1/2 inch on all four sides, and then we're going to take and cut it at a diagonal here. So we're just going to line up those points and cut into 2 triangles. Then we're done with our trimmer. Grab our scissors. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through the bottom, just straight through that bottom corner. Like so. And then I'm going to fold these over and burnish them, and then you can see we're going to have a end that we're going to have to trim off when we fold that over. So we're going to just kind of do that like so. Okay. Just trim that up. All right, so now you have this nice little triangle pocket. When we get to the pattern paper for this, I will show you how to cover that and how to cut it. It's really easy. Okay, so again, we're just going to trim off those nubbins. Okay, all done with that. And then we're going to grab our page. We have our binding on the right hand side, and we're going to just glue these down to the corners. And then we're going to use the remaining green dot paper that we cut out. That is 6 1/4 by 4 1/4, and then that will keep this page closed. So we're going to have the 2 gatefolds. So they're the same as far as the gatefolds on each side. They just are going to close a little bit different. Okay, add a little extra little nice element. Now pattern paper will go down underneath these triangles onto the pages. So I'm not going to worry about using tape or anything like that, but I am just gluing them to the edge at the bottom in the side here on top of those pages. Okay. little too much glue there. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then this green dot paper, we're gonna make it fancier, but that's going to go right there and keep that page closed. Okay, so this is page 4. So we'll have our tag closure here, and then we'll have our cut apart. We're going to use a cut apart for that one. That will go there. Okay, and keep everything nice and closed. All right, page 4. So let's do page 5. So our last page is page 5, and we're going to make it a pocket page. And so if you've noticed, pages 1, 3, and 5 will all be pocket pages, and the other 2 are going to have a lot of interactive elements. So we're going to need a piece that's 8 1/4 by 7 3/4, and then a piece that's 8 1/2 by 8 1/4, and that will make the base page of page 5 and create the big page pocket. Then we will need a piece that's 8 1/2 by 2 1/2, and a piece that's 8 3/4 by 2 1/2, and those are going to be belly bands. And they're going to be a little bit different on the front and the back. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do with the base page piece is the 8 1/4 by 7 3/4, and we're going to just put it with the 8 1/4 at the top, and we're going to score at 1/2 and at 3/4. Okay, we will then take the 8 1/2 by 8 1/4, and we're going to put it with the 8 1/2 at the top, and we're going to score at 1/2 and 8, and then we'll turn it and score at 1/2. Okay, so that's going to be our pocket, our big page pocket. And then the belly bands, while we have our scoreboard out, both of them on the long side, so this one happens to be the 8 3/4, we're going to score at 1/2 on each end. So for this one, since it's 8 3/4, the 1/2 inch mark would be at 8 1/4. So we're going to score at 1/2 and 8 1/4. This one here, that is 8 1/2, will score at 1/2 and at 8, and that'll give us a 1/2 inch on each side. Okay, so base page, again, we will just miter, or not miter, we do not miter our pages, but we are going to burnish. Okay, fold and burnish. Okay, base page. Then we have our pocket that is going to be attached to the base page. So first thing we can do is miter those 1/2 inches, and we're going to go right across the bottom corners there. Okay. Now, one thing I want to tell you with the pages, you know, we do have to put pattern paper on the cover on the inside before we put the pages on. Okay, so we already did that. We talked about that. The page that we did, the previous page where we had to put the paper on for the tag closure, if you haven't figured out your papers yet, just don't add the tag closure part on there until you're ready to put your pattern papers on. You can just clip those together and then put them off to the side. Okay. So this one here, we can add it to the front or the back. It doesn't really matter. But what I am going to do is do the bottom and do the tape trick, because I'm not going to obviously put paper in this deep pocket. And I want to make sure that anything I put in here is going to slide in and out nicely. So I'm just going to do tape on that bottom section, so that anything I add in here will slide in nice and easy and won't get hung up. Okay, so again, tape. Scotch tape is your friend sometimes in scrapbooking. That is for sure. And I love this trick. And, you know, we learn things from each other all the time. And this one I learned from Bonnie. And since I have kind of learned this trick, I have been using it. I use tricks from all of the designers. And when I use them, I like to give a shout out because it's really awesome. So this is one I did learn from Bonnie. Okay, so now that we've got that, we'll go ahead and just glue up the sides. All right. Okay. So page pocket, big page pocket. Then we're going to take our belly bands. We'll miter those, and then one of them, they're different lengths, and I know you have figured that out already, because one is going to go vertical, one is going to go horizontal, and they're different. The pages are different. So like this page here is 7.5 wide, but it is 7 3/4 inch tall. So please double check before you glue these on to your pages and make sure you're gluing it onto the correct side. Okay, you don't need to add pattern paper to anything because the pattern paper will slide underneath the belly bands, so that'll work out really good. All right, so we'll do that. We'll do that. Excuse me, good gravy. And then this one is shorter, so this one is going to be the horizontal one. Okay, so when you fold the tabs, that'll be 7.5. The page is 7.5 wide, so that's going to go in the back. It can go in the front if you want. I'm just going to put it on the back because that's just what my plan was. So I'm going to put the vertical belly band on the front. Okay, and I'm going to, we'll center this. So it's 7.5. So the center of my page is 3 3/4. And then this should line up at, dun, dun, dun. Where is it going to line up? I can't read my own ruler. Okay, at 1 1/4 inch. Okay, so I'm just going to put glue on one of them. Now you can put glue on both of them. I'm just going to put glue on one since it's kind of a long belly band. Make sure everything's lined up. 1 1/4 inch from the center on either side will do it. Okay. Okay. And then go ahead and add your glue. Okay. And I'm just going to lay that down. And theoretically, everything should be straight, right? So I don't have to measure it when I lay it down. Okay, so there's that. Then we're going to turn it over. Binding is over here. This one will be the horizontal one. Okay, so this pocket is, or page pocket, whatever, is, where is it? Lines up at 3 7/8. And in the middle, again, since it's the same width, is 1 1/4 from each side of the center. And then, yeah, just lay that down like so. Okay. I'm making a mess too. This is crazy. I can't get sick again. Ay, ay, ay. My favorite holiday is coming up. I can't miss it. You guys know me and Halloween. It's so weird doing a Christmas album in October when I just spent a lot of my day tweaking Halloween decorations and and now I'm working on Christmas. But, you know, hey, it's going to be here before you know it. And we need to get some stuff done, don't we? All right. So, page is done. So, front, we have our belly band on the front. On the back, we have our belly band right here. And that is page number 5. Okay. So, the next thing we're going to do, and we're going to need to make 2 of these, and I'm going to make one with you, and then I will make one on my own, but we're going to do some reverse waterfalls. These are because one of my viewers had definitely asked me to share how to make these. So I've used them in a previous album, and I'm going to use them again because I really want to kind of hone my technique and make sure that you guys know how to use these. I've done the stacked waterfall a lot, and I love it. It's like my favorite way to make waterfalls, but this reverse waterfall is really awesome. So you will need 2 pieces. This is for the mechanism that are 5 by 12. And then you will need 10 pieces that are 6 by 4. Those are the pages. And then 2 pieces that are 7 by 1.5 for this. And that will be the band that the mechanism works from and how it attaches to the book. Okay. So I'm going to, like I said, do one with you, and then I will do the other one because they're both going to be the same. So we will need 1 piece for each one that's 5 by 12. Okay. 1 piece that's 7 by 1.5. And then we will need 5 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are 6 by 4. Okay. So I'm going to put these off to the side for a sec. And these 6 by 4, these are the pages. They do not get mitered at all. Okay. So I'm just going to put that off to the side. This here, we are going to put in our scoreboard with the 12 at the top. With your 12 at the top, we're going to score at 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, and 9. Okay. So I'm just going back over my scores. So 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, and 9. So you should have the 5 scores right there. You'll have this nice long section here, which is kind of the back of the mechanism. This is where the pages will attach. Okay. So from the 7-inch on to the 12, that's where the pages will attach. Here is the band that we're going to use that this mechanism will work through. We're going to score at 1/2 and at 6.5. So this is the 1.5 by 7. So we scored at 1/2 and 6.5. Okay. And that's it. That's all we're going to do for that. So let me grab this again. And we're going to take our piece here. We're going to fold it at that top score line and just fold that down in half. And then we're going to just fold and burnish every other score line. So while I was kind of researching methods on how to make the reverse waterfalls, I came across this method in several different places, and I find this one to be the absolute easiest way to make a reverse waterfall. I mean, it's just so simple and so easy to do. Okay. So now we have kind of all of our scores folded, right? We're going to go to the top here. So this last section below all those scores is about 3 inches. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue that first page right to that. But we need to make sure, because this is only 5 inches wide and our pages are 6 inches wide, that we need to make sure we're lining those up right. Okay. So I'm going to use my ruler to make sure that I'm doing this properly. And this is 2.5 from the center. These will be glued down at 3 from the center, right? And right to that edge. So I'm going to put glue on that entire bottom piece. Now I have it folded because I'm wanting to kind of look at that edge. So I'm lining it up with my ruler again at 2.5, lining my page up. This is the bottom page at 3, right to that edge, and then gluing that down. Okay. So it's nice and centered. Okay. So it's completely glued to that back. Just burnish that down. Okay. Don't have to worry about any pattern paper on the back of this, because that's always going to be covered up. Okay. So then the next thing to do is just fold it to the next score. Okay. Then you'll just take your glue and you're going to put glue on that 1/2 inch tab only. And try to make sure that you don't get it too close to the page you just laid down, okay? You don't want them glued down to each other. And then you're just going to lay this down, and I'm going to line this up to the page I just laid down. One of the hints and tips is just make sure that your pages are all the same width, okay? Very, very important to get those all the same. And then when you glue that down, then just open it up and burnish that down again. Okay, so now we've got the 2 pages like that. Okay, see how the waterfalls started with the scores? So let me just go to the next score. Put glue there, grab my next page, and just repeat the process until you have used up all 5 of your pages. Okay. Now, I didn't do it. You can certainly do it if you want. Use corner rounders. On the previous project, I did that. This way, yeah, I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to. I decided not to on this one. Okay, so I just folded it up to that next score. Oh my gosh, excuse me, guys. I am so sorry. Make sure it's nice and straight. It's right at the edge. Okay. And then open it up ever so gently and then burnish that down. Okay. And then we have 1 more page to go and then we're done gluing our pages down. They are nice and straight. I do like that. And then gluing that down. Voila. Okay. All right. So our pages are down. Like so. Okay. So you should have something that looks like that. Okay. Hope you can see that well. Make sure that there's no glue where you don't want it. That's for sure. You do not want these glued together because that's how the mechanism will turn. And if they're glued together, they're not going to turn. Okay. So now open this all the way up to the back side where the bottom piece, so here's all our scores, our pages are attached. Here was that first page we attached with that big area. That's where this is going to go. So we're going to fold and burnish, and I'm going to miter. And I'm also going to, I noticed for myself, using that little bit of tape does make sure that nothing gets caught. Okay, so I'm going to do that tape thing on the inside of my tabs again. So sticky side is up now. Glue everywhere. And I'm just going to do that just to give myself a little bit of insurance. It just seemed to do better. Okay, so here's the back side of the mechanism. Okay, pages are to the front. Got my little tape here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue down on my tabs, and then this glues right to the bottom here of the back of the page. Okay, so right there, right over that. Okay, now what happens then is this folds down into that pocket. If I can get my fingers to work. Okay, and then when you turn, so that's what it'll look like right side. Okay, so we just put that flap, we folded it back and put it under here, and then when we turn it over, you have your pages. And then what happens is when you pull this, then that's what creates the reverse waterfall. Okay, the pull waterfall. So that's how we're going to do that. Now we do need to, and I want to cover this with some pattern paper before I do that, because you really should do that before you add it to the book. So I fibbed this one. You need to do that too. We're going to make 2 of these, and so I'm going to again do this one with you, and then I'll do the other one afterwards. But here's our mechanism. as it is. And before we put it in the book, what I want to do, and before I put it, you know, thread this flap through that sleeve there, is I want to add my pattern paper. Now my pattern paper wasn't quite wide enough. You can see this. So what I'm going to do, because some of this will show, and you could actually put a picture on here, because when you pull it out, a lot of this piece is going to show. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, first thing is I'm going to create a pull. So this is just a little tab that I'm going to create, and I just took a piece of paper that is let's see, no, what did I do? 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches. So 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches, and I scored it in the middle at 3/4. And then I took my punch and I just rounded the 2 top corners by the fold, so that way when you fold it, it looks like a tab. Now you can use any tab punch that you have, but what this is going to do is, just before we put our pattern paper on, that's going to go on the bottom of our piece. Okay, so let's turn this 1.25 from the center, and I'm trying to line it up so that the score is at 1/2 inch. Okay, so let's make this really hard. Okay, there we go. Okay, so about 1/4 inch is glued to the page, 1/2 inch is extended past. Okay, and I'm going to glue it to one side first, and then I'm just going to turn it over and glue it the rest of the way down. Okay, so how is that for being difficult? Good gravy. My brain's not working. I've had a rough couple of days. Actually, a very rough couple of weeks. Okay, so that's our pull. That's what we're going to pull when we do our mechanism. Okay, so once we do that, then we're going to add our pattern paper. Okay, so again, this wasn't quite as wide as I needed it to be, so I'm going to add just a little strip, and I'm actually going to use a border punch and try and punch it and make it pretty, and then glue it so that I could tuck a picture underneath it. Okay, so if you are using a regular, you know, piece of paper, this is 5 by 7, so I would cut it at 4 7/8 by 6 7/8, but I'm going to fudge this one a little bit. This one was not quite as wide as I needed it to be. So, because I was kind of running low on the paper at this point. So that's why I'm going to use this little extra piece and kind of make up for it. Okay. So I'm just going to glue this down. And this will have about a 1/16 of an inch border. Okay. It's going to glue right over that tab, like so. This will also help strengthen the pull, okay? Give it a little bit more stability. And then I'm going to go ahead and edge punch this. And let's see. I love this punch, and I don't even know if it's available anymore, and everybody asks me about it, and I feel bad because it's like something I've had in my stash forever, and I don't know if it's available, but it was by EK Success, so that was quite a little while ago, and I don't even know what it was called, but it has this really cool scallop with the small scallops in between, so I just love this one. All right, so I punched it, and now I'm just going to layer that over, and I'm going to glue it on 3 sides so that I can kind of tuck a picture under the edge, and that'll give a little decorative thing, okay? So I'm just gluing that on the 3 sides, and then I'm going to make up for that extra edge here that is going to bother me if I don't fix that, okay? So it's kind of a way of decorating your page and maximizing your paper by using the strips, but then it also will give you that decorative piece too, okay? So like if you can imagine this was a picture, you could tuck it underneath, okay? So now that that's done, now you can tuck it under here, okay? And then that will be your pull, okay? All right, so then for the top, I'm going to just use a couple more scraps of my green dot, and then this is one of the cut aparts from the collection, and that's going to go here. Okay, so we might as well just go ahead and do that. So the green dot paper, since these are 4x6, this is 5 7/8 by 3 7/8. And then this particular cut apart is kind of an odd size. It's 5 1/8 by 3 1/8. So I just cut it out of the paper collection. It's one of the odd shaped ones, and I'm going to center this. I'm going to get it where I can see it. Whoop, come on, Misha. Oh my gosh. Like so. Okay, and then that will be kind of the cover of the waterfall here. And I've got another cut apart, another piece of green dot for the other one. But I wanted to show you that. I'm not going to put any pattern paper on any of the other papers, on any of the other pages, I should say, because I was quite frankly running out, and I want to have room for pictures, okay? And this is going to give you a lot of room for photos, okay? All right, so that's it. All right. So then we need to add it to the book, okay? So we've got the top on. We're not going to put papers on these pages, so see how many photos you can add in there. It's just crazy. We've got the bottom here. You can add photos there if you would like. Let's close it all up. If we turn this over, we have our pull tab there. You have the back through that band, okay? This band is the only thing you're going to glue to your book. You don't want to put glue on this because that's the slider. That's what's going to make this go, okay? So you don't want to put any glue on that. You just want to put it on that 1.5 inch band. So if we grab our book, and this is why we needed to put pattern paper on our book to start with, okay? It's going to glue right there in the middle of our page, okay? Just like so, all right? You're going to have about 1/4 inch above and below, and you will have roughly 1 inch on either side, okay? So I'm going to put glue, and I'm going to try to make sure that I don't get glue where I don't want it. So I'm not going clear to the edge, okay? I do not want glue on that part that's going to slide, right? I just want it on that band, all right? So we're going to go about 1 inch in from the edge and about 1/4 inch up and down. Like so. Line that up. Okay, and that's it. And that will stay really, really nicely. Now you can open this up, pull on this, open it up, get to your back page. And I'm burnishing that down. Just be real gentle so it doesn't moosh around on you before it's nice and adhered. But that will be your waterfall, okay? Isn't that cool? I just love it. And you can take, if you have really beautiful handwriting, you can write pull on that. You could put a little piece of ribbon so they know, but I think that the tab kind of gives an idea of what to do. It will not go anywhere. It'll stay nice and sturdy, and I think you're going to like it. So that is going to be there, and then I'm going to put another one on this one here. Now let's add our pages to our album. And then we're done for tonight. And then I will come back and we will talk pattern papers, okay? So we are going to add these just like I kind of always add my pages, and hopefully this works out really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my first page here, and we're going to have 1/2 inch in between. So our spine and our pages. All right. So I'm trying to use my grid to help me here, and I've got my ruler lined up, and I'm going to put glue on the 1/2 inch tab, okay? Not the 1/4 inch tab, because that's our give space, okay? And I'm going to line this up 1/8 of an inch up from the bottom of my cover, okay? So you're gonna have just a little wee bit of the paper showing, all right? And I'm gonna glue that down. This is the L hinge, okay? So I'm just gluing that 1/2 inch piece down, and that's it, okay? Then I'm going to take page 2. I'm going to turn this. I'm going to take page 2. Now that I've got it all lined up, I don't have to do any more measuring. And I'm just going to line that up to the edge of that page. And I'm going to glue that down. So this one's a little bit thicker. So just be a little bit more careful when you lay that down. All right, so glue on the 1/2 inch. And then I'm just going to line that up. I'm going to butt it right up against the previous page. I'm being very careful to try to make sure okay, like so. Page 3, same thing. Lining that up. Making sure that that's nice and flush. Okay. Glue everywhere, I feel like today. Okay. All right. Page number 4. Like so. And just, again, butt that up right next to that page, right next to that tab. And, okay. Like so. Okay, so for page 5, this, when I do my L page system, will glue right over top of the previous 1/2 inch piece we just glued down. So that way when you turn the page, you still have pretty border behind the pages, just like you do on the front where you have all this pretty border. The thing with this is that you're going to have kind of this piece sticking up here. If it doesn't bother you, then go for it and do it. I don't know that it's going to bother me or not. The other option that you can do is to trim this up to the same height as page 4, and then what you'll end up having is you'll see the page, but you won't see any of this mechanism. So that's kind of like aesthetically whatever you want to do. Now I am going to put strips of pattern paper over this, so there you will have a little bit of that showing too. So, you know, it's kind of like you know, do what you want to do. I hope that makes sense. So what I normally do is glue this down right over top of that 1/2 inch piece on the previous page, okay? And then that's how I glue my books down. Then when I turn my page, you have the pretty paper on the spine showing on the other side, okay? If you don't like that binding showing, which I don't think is going to be that big of a deal for me, you can cut it the same height as page 4. So just take your ruler, cut across, and then cut that little piece out, and then you'll just have your page. Does that make sense? So, you know, whatever you want to do, I'm going to go ahead and just glue it down the whole length, and then I'll have just a little peak of pattern paper on the gussets that I always end up putting down, okay? And I think that's gonna look really nice. So I'm just gonna lay this down right over top of that 1/2 inch, making sure everything's nice and straight. And then when I put the pattern paper that I'm gonna choose for my gussets, then that'll just kind of peek out the top, okay? But again, if you don't like that, then you can trim that to the same height, and then you'll just have your page showing instead of this border, okay? So that's kind of up to you. But here is our book. Now, if you look at it from the top, all the pages line up on the side. Then you have, you know, this really pretty cascade kind of effect going on, and it turned out really cool, I think. So, page 1 is a pocket. Page 2 has flaps on both sides. Page 3 has triple pockets, one in the middle, one in the front, one in the back. Page 4 has the gatefold with the, take this off so you can actually open it. So with the tag closure here, and then back here, you'll have the gatefold with that. Then page 5, you'll have the belly bands here and here. You're gonna have another reverse waterfall here. And we did the one waterfall together on the front cover. We're gonna have another one on the back. Okay, so that is the end of part 1. I'll come back with part 2 and we'll do the pattern papers. So I hope that this all makes sense and you like it. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I'll be back with part 2 as soon as I possibly can. I've got papers prepped and ready. I just need to get time to do it. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and I'll see you soon with the rest of this album. All right? Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.